Good evening, everyone. Mazes okay here live with Professor Kinsley Morgalu. And so we're here in Oxford, United Kingdom. So what is going to happen is we would have a conversation regarding pertinent issues happening in Nigeria. So quickly, so before we start, we will start and we will start taking your questions. Obviously, if many of you who have questions, you can bring them on. But bear in mind, I only take questions and reasonable questions, please, as usual on the platform. No insult and no name calling. We can all discuss as human beings, and we can all discuss respectfully. So let me say here, see who I'm sitting down here with. So let's go. Now, people, see who I have here. See, here I am with my good brother, Professor Kinsley Morgalon. Hold on, I think maybe before that takes my microphone. If you can hear me very well, if you can hear me very well, yeah, so you can hear me. Now, I have Prof. Yes. Say hello to everyone.
Well, hello, everybody. Hi, how are you?
Okay, so guys, you guys know Professor Kinsley Morgalu very well. And he's here in Oxford. I communicated with him. I said, I want to come and see him. And here am I with him now. Prof, tell the audience, what are you doing in Oxford, University of Oxford?
Well, thank you. I am concluding, in fact, today is my last day, my 2-month period as an academic visitor, as a visiting fellow at the University of Oxford, specifically in the Oxford Martin School, which is an institute where they do a lot of research and thinking, proposing solutions to problems of the world, problems of the economy, poverty, population, security, those types of issues. This should have happened before COVID, because I've had this invitation for a long time. But COVID interrupted. And so they came back when it looked like COVID was beginning to calm down and said, Prof, you have to do this thing as soon as possible.
Wow.
And so we decided that the only window available was this last quarter of the year.
Before the Christmas.
Before the Christmas, yes. Okay. And I said, I should have been here for a year or 6 months. I said, no, I'll be here for not more than 3 months. Because, of course, I have in mind the political calendar in Nigeria and the fact that I'm an aspirant for the presidency. But very important is the question of why I am here. You see, Nigeria is a place that has had politicians who are thinkers as well. Politicians who are very well educated, who have used ideas to move our society forward. And I believe very strongly that we must return to that tradition. We have the Nnamdi Azikiwes, we had the Dr. Alex Ekwemes, we had the Ojukwus, we had the Obafemi Awolowos. These were all intellectuals and thinkers. And if you go and look at what they did for this country or for their parts of Nigeria, you will see that their legacies are very strong. And that's the kind of leadership I think we should be looking at. A leadership that respects ideas and has intellect. Because if you cannot think it, you cannot do it. If you cannot conceptualize it, you cannot execute it. That's the point. So I'm also using this period to think, to reflect, and to, consider Nigeria. I gave a lecture here, I gave a series of lectures at Oxford University. I gave a lecture on the political economy of Nigeria, very heavily attended across the university and many people online. I gave a lecture at the Blavatnik School of Government on emerging markets in the world economy, looking at the economies of Latin America, Asia, Southeast Asia, and Africa. I gave a lecture at the Oxford Diplomatic Society on international relations in the 21st century. I aspire to be the president of Nigeria. I aspire to be a modern president, a 21st century leader, using ideas to solve the problems of Nigeria. So while we will return to campaigning and the normal grassroots politics, yes, but it's also important to balance it when it is possible to do so. The elections are not tomorrow morning. With some thinking and engagement with the international and global system, which, it is just a fact of my life that I'm not just local, I'm also global. So I'm global. That is the difference between me and a lot of people. And I have no apologies. I'm not just local, I'm global.
And local.
I'm local.
That is
Yes.
global and local.
Exactly, yes. Because we all know that Nigeria is part of the world.
So it appears anytime you say, Prof, you have to talk about politics and how to fix Nigeria.
Yes.
Now, Prof, many will tell you that Nigeria doesn't need fixing. Yes. Leave it to Bafuka. So what do you say? Many will tell you that.
The problem is that if it's Bafuka, all of us will be Bafuka along with it. We have to fix our country. We just have to. We can't give up. If you give up, it gets worse. Look at what happened with the Electoral Act amendment. It's because we stood up and fought the vested interests that did not want a transparent election collation of results. And we fought them and we succeeded. And they had to back down because citizens stood up. If you walk away, they're very happy that you've walked away. Then you've left the field to them. When you say we just want this country to Africa, it's Africa on whose head? So for me, that's not an option. I'm committed to the progress of our country and our people, and so I remain engaged. Yeah, that's why I do not share that view. Because if the country collapses in violence, complete and utter violence, anarchy will claim anybody, and its effect on all of us is bad. So we must fight this fight and rescue the country from bad governance and absolute lack of leadership, which is the situation today. But it will not be permanent. It will not be forever. If we all as citizens say we've had enough is enough, it don't do. In 2023, let's look for more competent and visionary people and entrust them, because it is the people who decide who leads them. If the people decide that the people who will lead them are the Alboros.
So basically, Prof,
that's a problem.
If I take your message,
yes.
So you're basically using the Anambra State election as a template to say that if indeed the people want to have a leader with something upstairs, they have the powers to do that.
Of course they do. And, we saw what happened in Anambra State, where, Professor Soludo was elected as the governor. I think it's not a bad outcome at all. It's a good outcome. And, and I think there's a lot of expectations on him.
Sure.
And let's watch. And I certainly hope and I expect that he should do well as a governor of the state, because, he understands the economy and what to do about it. So this is, very, very, it's a good message that we rejected all sorts of charlatans. And as far as
on both sides.
Yes, and made a more reasonable choice. And I think we should be moving more in that direction, even at the national level, where I am an aspirant. So we're all interested in our different things. Some people are interested in the governorship. Some people are interested in the presidency. Some people are interested in the Senate and the National Assembly. Some people are interested in state assembly. People have different interests, but no matter what your interest is, we should look for high standards in leadership, period.
Okay, people, I can see your questions coming in, and so many of you are asking your questions. Well, let's see if we can take some of your questions. Let's see some of the questions we can take. This is, again, not scheduled, but we'll hope to do more of this, where we can take many of your questions. Now, let me say, Nedi Nedi 2K says, I love Prof. How do you intend to become popular? You know that Nigeria votes based on how popular, on your popularity.
Yeah.
So, Prof, what are you going to say about that one?
Oh, we have plans. We have wicked plans.
It's a real wicked plan.
Wicked plans. You see, there's no need people dancing themselves lame when the music has not begun. It's not, you know, we're going into 2022. Already we are working underground in many parts of the country, mobilizing, setting up our structures, and we will become even more aggressive about that in 2022. So we are well aware of the need to popularize, the need to build structures across the whole country, the ground game. And we have a strategy and we have already begun execution. And in 2022 first quarter, we will move into a higher gear. We will move into, I think we're in gear 2 now. 2022, we move into gear 3.
And this
By
is
the middle of the year, we're in gear 4. By the end of the year.
This car appears to be a 8 gear or 9 gear car.
It's a car with many gears. Absolutely. We need something different.
Okay, so Samuel Dada is asking this question: how do you think we can solve the problem in Nigeria since we fail to have national biometrics? We don't know who is who and who comes in and who goes out. So obviously, and we don't have electricity. But if I take Samuel's question, what is actually true? It's one of the things we've been talking about.
Absolutely.
So, you know, if you become the president, say come 2023, you know, it's that going to be one of your priorities to see that Nigeria have
because it is part of the problem of national security. If you cannot control your borders, what makes you a state? A territorial state. One of the attributes of statehood, being a country, means you have to be able to control your territory. So this government is failing in that very basic duty. Even some parts of Nigeria now are controlled by terrorists. And we elected a general, a military general. This tells you that the competence and the ability to secure Nigeria does not depend on whether you're wearing a uniform or not. The hood does not make the monk. I have a plan to secure Nigeria so that people don't have to worry about Boko Haram and bandits, and people can go to their farms. All those refugees that have been displaced in various parts of the country, we can return them to their homes because we will reclaim our land and send these terrorists where they belong, which is to hell.
Prof, I know we talked about 2 questions, but I have to take this one because I know the person asking this question personally. And he sent this question from Canada. And that is Ken Oguzua, Kenny. He says, Prof, our balance of trade is a mess. We aren't exporting enough. How do you plan to promote export and manage too much import? So,
good question.
Specific.
Very good question.
Yeah.
There is something called, forgive me, I don't want to sound academic, but it's not my fault that I sabi.
Well, I mean,
so we will apply the sabi to the problem.
Exactly.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Because the problem needs sabi to be solved.
The problem needs sabi to be solved.
Exactly. So you can't.
You can't solve it if you don't know it.
Exactly.
So there's something called economic complexity. That is, how do you produce value-added goods that are competitive in their price, and you're able to export them and earn foreign exchange? That is what determines the balance of trade. So this is what we're going to focus on. We're going to create an enabling environment. We're going to come out with an industrial policy that really creates an enabling environment for manufacturing in Nigeria. And manufacturing creates jobs. It is true that the world is going digital. It is true that some countries have gone into the post-industrial stage. But I argue you must be an industrial state before you can become a post-industrial country. You see what I'm saying? So we're going to have to negotiate international trade agreements. We're going to have to use tariffs outside of Africa, because in Africa we have the Continental Free Trade Area now. But anything outside, we have to negotiate with the WTO to make sure that Chinese and other products don't come into Nigeria and flood our markets and make our own products uncompetitive.
Now, as a follow-up to that question,
And just to finish,
yeah,
we must provide the electricity infrastructure, because that is what, the absence of that is what is increasing the cost of production by 40% in Nigeria. So we will deal with that.
So as a follow-up to that question,
Yeah.
do you think we are utilizing the privilege we now enjoy at the World Trade Organization?
You must understand that the Director General of the World Trade Organization is there to serve all countries.
Yes,
she's
but
not there. She's not. No, please. Let's, so that we don't have, false expectations.
Okay.
However, it is part of her duty, in my view, to help the World Trade Organization come to a consensus that is fairer to developing countries like the one she comes from. So while she may not be able to take up a Nigeria-specific case, but she can take up a case that covers Africa broadly and includes Nigeria. So yes, that is part of what I certainly hope.
And we should be putting something on the table anyway, but apparently, I don't know if that is happening. But before I let you go, recently, I mean, obviously, you know it, here in the United Kingdom, the vaccine became, or rather, COVID became an issue, where they now say even if you're vaccinated, you come from Nigeria and you land in the United Kingdom, you will be quarantined in a hotel for 11 days, and you pay 2,800 and something pounds.
How many people can afford that?
Exactly. So
that
the question
is apartheid. You see, what we are seeing with the COVID situation tells us the opportunity we have lost in our own country by solving our own problems. Anybody who thinks that the world will be drinking Panadol for their own headache, is deceiving himself. We should have been producing vaccines in Nigeria. We have the scientific capacity to do that. We just don't have the organization. We just don't have the governance.
How can we produce vaccine if we don't have electricity to store them?
No, you can. You see, you can create a special arrangement for 24-hour electricity. It is done. If you go to banks, does the light ever go off? They may have 2 generators. It's expensive, but they're making sure they'll just pass the bill into your interest rate. So that's the problem. So we have to deal with this matter of electricity because it's so basic, So this is one. The other thing I would say is that Nigerians should know how to make symbolic gestures in international affairs. Even the UN Secretary General, everybody in the world has said this COVID treatment of Africans by some Western countries is discriminatory. It is apartheid, because there are many European countries that have far more cases of Omicron variant of COVID, and they're not being subjected to these types of
treatments.
Yes. So when this sort of thing happens, the Nigerian government should be able to make a statement by doing something that is reciprocatory and retaliatory. That's how you make a statement. You can say, but of course, Nigeria has pledged itself to foreign countries by borrowing like a drunken sailor. So some people will say your hand is so weak.
Well, but aside even the borrowing, some argue that you cannot fight against those that treat you when you fall sick.
Well, I don't want to comment on that.
Anyway, but me from Njenje Media, because we don't fear anything, we say it where it is.
Me, I'm not afraid of anything. Well, it's just
I understand. I understand, but I read the comment of the street, so I can say the things the street say.
No, but the lesson there is that we have to fix our own healthcare.
Sure.
So if we don't fix our own healthcare and we're going abroad treating ourselves, and when situations like this come up, you cannot defend yourself because your personal interest in your healthcare is stopping you or making you afraid. It's very sad.
And Prof, before I let you, before we move on now, there was this young man about 12 years old.
Yes.
Sylvester Kingsley, Okay. No, is it Kingsley? Oh, sorry, Sylvester. That died. Now, and may his soul rest in peace.
Yeah.
But one thing that struck me is we woke up and we heard that the school has been closed.
Yes.
Now, and I started thinking, in as much as yes, a life has been lost, that case needs to be investigated. But was it right for the Lagos state government to have closed that school like as if we are in the military era? Was it necessary?
I think that what we do in Nigeria is knee-jerk reactions. What that case requires is that it should be thoroughly investigated, and those who are personally responsible must be held accountable. But the school itself needs to be sanctioned in some way for allowing a culture of violence, for allowing a culture of impunity. Whether that is outright closure of the school, which will hurt many students who are innocent. This is where we sometimes go a bit, like I said, knee-jerk. So I don't know the exact circumstances or reasons why the Lagos State government closed the school. The school should be sanctioned, yes. And maybe the principal could be fired, the management could be sacked, but remember that there are many other students in the school who were not complicit in what happened to Sylvester.
Exactly.
So you're also, you're also hurting their own education by taking such a knee-jerk reaction. But this is typical of Nigeria, where we don't have governance, we just have show. That's it. So that it will look as if they have done something. No, you make sure that you find. I read that some of the people who did this thing are missing. Have left the country. This is the issue you should be focusing on, and we must find them wherever they are and bring them to justice. Who is enabling this type of impunity?
Honestly, it's a sad. I mean, we all have children, and
as a parent,
it's heartbreaking.
With kids who have gone through secondary school, my children were in Stella Maris School, Abuja, and I know that some of these kinds of issues arose, and some of us had to take it up with the authorities of the school that you should not allow a culture where students are brutalized, where students are punished and treated in ways that just violate their human rights. You have the right to enforce discipline in school, but you must do it within the context of basic human rights.
Okay.
That's what we must learn from this very sad incident.
So, Prof, our time is up, but
in
1 minute,
yes,
a fellow professor has just won the Anambra State election, your own state.
Sure.
Now, in 1 minute, what will be your message to Professor Soludo as an agenda for him come 2022?
Odenigbo, chekwa Anambra ọfụma. Gosi ndị Anambra na anyị adịghị efe ego n'obodo Zik, obodo Ekwueme, obodo Ojukwu. Welu amamife chi Anambra. That's my message.
Prof, all the book oya, the imoko na mo buko no onye ichie.
Exactly.
Tunwa bi feke ego.
Yes, ifeke ego.
Ewe chie mo ima na kama atokwa ngine echichi.
Eziokwu.
Echile m 2016.
So where
We chie agi nke last year.
So where Mara echichi anchile. Asipa ka echie me 10 years ago.
Ewo.
Ajumaju. Anom na Central Bank.
Awu na ichile mgbe abụ ike atọ m na echichi mana atọzi ang dị n'echichi.
Mana asi ya dị ma chọrọ go do at that time. So Marakita, condition make crayfish bend.
Ifeke ego nnewu.
Exactly.
In fact, ifeke ego. Or is it not a nurse for the ever? Prof, you have spoken English, you have spoken Igbo.
Yes.
But waiting can happen for the streets now. People where know the two.
Exactly.
Some people they talk say Prof knows sabi how to blow grammar.
That one no be true now.
Say you know the yarn.
Yeah, the yarn well.
True?
And the yarn.
You dey scatter yarn.
And they scatter.
You see, everybody don't they laugh inside. They say Prof the yarn.
Yeah, the yarn seriously. 2022, they go see yarn now. Yarn they come. Seriously.
So Prof they tell us say make we hold body. Say 2020.
Exactly. We go shake body well. Yes.
But no be body way Prof they talk, no be shaking of rice and beans.
No. That one. Now the thing where they kill us now.
Abi?
Now the thing where don't kill us. People don't steal your money. They steal your money, then they come, they distribute rice and beans. Then you go vote for them. They come back, steal again. The one way they don't spend to distribute rice and beans. I beg now. Not because children will be.
On this note, I say thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I am still Mazi Ezeokan. Still, this is
Thank you. Body the Inside Club. Peace.
Peace out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.